Okay, we're going to work through this timesheet that is in week 1 of the first booklet. So it's about Beau's Beaut bus business. That's great alliteration there, by the way. Our first question says, what is the destination of the earliest bus to leave Canberra on Sundays? Well, I want to leave Canberra, so I'm going to look at from Canberra. I'm not coming back to Canberra, so I'm going to leave Canberra. Now, if I'm looking at the earliest bus, I'm going to be looking at anything that is AM. So if I go through with my highlighter, here's an AM, here's another one, oh, PM, leave it, another one, here's another one, and another one, okay? So they are all the buses that leave early. They leave before lunch, okay? So they leave anywhere from midnight through to lunchtime, because that's our AM period. So now I have to find the earliest one. So if I have a look at my clock here, I'm starting at midnight and I'm going to find the first bus that leaves. So I'm going to look at the hours first, not the minutes. So if I have a look here, I have a 9 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, that's pretty early. Oh, I have a 2:45 in the morning. Now that's like up here. Have a look, I've got that on my clock right now. It's only 2 hours past midnight. It's pretty early. The next one is 11:25. That's just before lunch. So 2:45 is still my winner here. 7 a.m. breakfast. Nope, 2:45 is still earlier. 7:30 after breakfast. 2:45 is still earlier. And 7:15. Nope, 2:45 is still earlier. That is the earliest bus that leaves Canberra on a Sunday. Okay, so your answer would be 2:45 a.m. It says, where is the latest bus leaving from Canberra going? So I'm still leaving from Canberra, but where's the latest bus going? So now I need to look at those PM ones. So I have 4:20 p.m, 10:30 p.m, 1 p.m, 5:15 p.m, 2:30 p.m, and 2:50 p.m. So I want the latest possible one at night time. So this is going to be one that leaves from lunchtime all the way through to midnight. I want the one closest to midnight because that will be the latest one. So I've got 4 o'clock in the afternoon is not very close to midnight. 10:30 p.m, probably after your bedtime. That one's my winner so far. 1 p.m. is just after lunch, so I'm not going to use that one. 5:15 is before dinner. I'm not going to use that one. 2:30 is about afternoon tea. I'm not going to use that either. And 2:50 is just after afternoon tea. So I can't use that one either. Sorry, that was my phone. So I'm going to go with my latest one, 10:30 p.m. Now 10:30 p.m. is pretty late at night. Okay, so we're going to do the latest bus leaving from Canberra is going to Darwin. Okay, so my answer would be Darwin. My answer for my first one for the earliest, if I had a look, would be Adelaide, because it's going to Adelaide at 2:45 a.m. And my second one is Darwin at 10:30 p.m. Now number 3 is a little bit tricky. Number 3 says, what is the difference in leaving times between the earliest and the latest bus? Well, we know so far that this here is our earliest bus and that this one here is our latest bus. So we need to find out the time, how long it takes between these two times here. So on my clock here, I have to make a few notes as well. Let me get a blank piece of paper. Here's my blank piece of paper. Okay, my leaving time for my earliest bus was 2:45 a.m. That's in the morning. That's the exact time that's on my clock right there, right now. Now I'm going to work it out in minutes and hours because it's a long time, the difference between this. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my minutes hand to move, which is this blue one. And to get up to an o'clock, which will be 3 o'clock, is 5, 10, 15 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to add 15 minutes. That's things that I need to add together. Now I need to find out this bit here until 10:30 at night. So if I go through, it's still AM at the moment. I can count hours now. If I go through, I've got 1 hour to 4 o'clock, 2 hours to 5 o'clock, 3 hours to 6 o'clock, 4 hours to 7 o'clock, 5 hours to 8 o'clock, 6 hours to 9 o'clock, 7 hours to 10 o'clock. Now this is not 10 p.m. This is 10 a.m. I'm up to 7 hours already, and I still need to go round the clock a whole nother time. So I know that that's 7 hours so far to get to 10 a.m. Now 10 p.m. means that it has gone the entire way round an entire time, and that would be 12 hours. It would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours to get to 10 p.m. So I'm going to add another 12 hours here. Now I need to get to 10:30. So my big hand's going to stay on my 10, and this is where I'm going back to my minutes again. So I'm going 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So I have 30 minutes there. Okay, and I'm now at 10:30 p.m. So if we go to our sheet here and have a look, this is what I now need to add up. So my 15 minutes took me to 3 a.m. My 7 hours took me to 10 a.m. My 12 hours took me to 10 p.m. and my 30 minutes took me to 10:30 p.m. So if I add up my hours first, I've got 7 hours and 12 hours here. So 12 and 7 equals 19. I have 19 hours, and I'll add up my minutes. I have 30 minutes and 15 minutes. So if I add on the 5 first, I have 35 minutes. Now I add on the 10, I have 45 minutes. So my answer for number 3 would be the difference between the earliest bus and the latest bus heading out would be 19 hours and 45 minutes. So that was a really big question. Let's have a look at our 4th question. How much later is the second trip from Melbourne than the first one? So I need to now look at this column here because I'm leaving from Melbourne. So if I have a look here, there are 2 trips here to Melbourne. I'll get my highlighter. This is Melbourne here. There's a bus leaving at 1 p.m. and there's a bus leaving at 7:45 p.m. And I need to know how much later it is. So it's looking at the time between 1 p.m. and 7:45 p.m. So we get a scrap piece of paper. This is our duration, 1 p.m. and it goes down to 7:45 p.m. Now, this one's a little bit easier because I'm only going from PM to PM. I don't have to go past an AM. So let's have a look. We'll put that time on our clock here. Here's my 1 PM. Okay, so we're going to work our way round to 7 PM. Let's have a look. We go 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. It took us 6 hours to get to 7 PM, so we write 6 hours. I now need to get to 7:45. I can count my way round. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, better not move that, 40, 45. Okay, so my clock's got to look a little bit like that. It's nearly 8 o'clock, but that is 7:45, and it took 45 minutes. So my answer for this one, what is the difference between this bus leaving from Melbourne and this bus leaving from Melbourne, is 6 hours and 45 minutes. Let's have a look now at number 5. What is the time difference between the first and second bus from Brisbane to Canberra? So we're now looking up here. I'm looking Brisbane to Canberra, Brisbane to Canberra. Okay, let's do that in a different colour so that we can tell the difference. I'm looking at this one here and this one here. So if I have a look, I'm not going to put them in that order. I'm going to put them in an entirely different order. So I'm not going to go from 11:25 to 8:35 because I'm going to use the earliest time first. I'm going from 8:35 a.m. to 11:25 a.m. Okay, so this one here is going to have just a few hours, because if I have a look at my clock here, I'm going from 8:30, 8:35 I should say, 8:35 to 11:25. Okay, I'm only covering this little bit of the clock here. It's not a lot at all. The easiest thing to do is work our way up to the next hour. So I need to move the minutes hand up to the 12 to get to 9 o'clock. So let's count how many minutes that is. We've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes gets us to 9 o'clock. So if I go to 9 a.m, it took 25 minutes. I now need to want to go to 11 a.m. Okay, I'm working my way to the next hour. So if I have a look at my clock here, I'm going 1 hour, 2 hours. So to get from 9 till 11 is 2 hours. Now I need to get from 11 to 11:25. So we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. I have 25 more minutes. I now need to add this together to find out how long it is all together. We're looking at the difference. Okay, so I have 2 hours. Let's have a look at those minutes. I have 25 and 25. So I can add up my two 5s first, which make 10. So I'm going to have a 0 here, and I put the 1 over here. And then I've got 2 and 2 is 4, and 1 more is 5. So I have 2 hours and 50 minutes. So the difference between the two buses leaving from Brisbane to Canberra is 2 hours 50 minutes. Let's have a look at the next question. Number 6. The trip from Sydney to Canberra takes 1.5 hours. If I look here, I can go, well, let's have a look. Sydney, return to Canberra. So if I leave at these different times, it's wanting to know what time I get in. So what time will each of these two buses arrive in Canberra? What we need to do to start with is we actually have to do each one separately. I'm just getting some more scrap paper because I've run out from my other pile. Okay, so here's my first time here. Sydney leaves at 6:15 a.m. Okay, that's what time it leaves. We know the bus takes 1.5 hours. So 1.5 hours sorry, is actually 1 hour and 30 minutes. So let's add on our hours first. We put our clock on 6:15. Sorry. We add on our 1 hour, and now we add on our 30 minutes. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So our first bus here at 9:40, that leaves at 6:15, is going to arrive at 7:45 a.m. Here's my minutes, remember? Let's have a look at our next bus. Our next bus from Sydney to Canberra leaves at 2:15. So let's put our clock onto 2:15. Now remember, we need to go 1 hour and 30 minutes. That's how long the trip takes. So we put on our 1 hour first, and then we put on our 30 minutes. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So if I left at 2:15 a.m, oh, that's a p.m, I would arrive at 3:45. 3:45 p.m. Okay, let's have a look at number 7. What is the time difference between the first and second bus to Perth? So we're going to have a look at this one. We have one bus here. One bus leaving at 7:30 a.m. and there's another bus leaving at 11:10 a.m. Okay, we need to know the difference between this. So let's get our clock on 7:30 and work our way up. So here's my 7 and my 30 minutes. Okay, 7:30. We might go from 7:30 to 8 o'clock. We're going to work around to the next hour, okay? So we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes gets us to 8 o'clock. So I'm at 8 o'clock. I now want to go to 11 o'clock. 8, 9, 10, 11. That was 3 hours because I'm using the red hand. So I have 3 hours. I now need to go 10 minutes past. 5, 10. So there's another 10 minutes. So let's total up what the time was. I have 3 hours and I have 30 plus 10 is 40 minutes. Okay, now let's have a look at that very last one here. It says how much later is the second trip from Darwin to Canberra than the first one. So we're going to have a look at that Darwin trip again. So here I have one trip from Darwin at 7:30 a.m. So we're leaving at 7:30 a.m. That's in the morning, very early. And the next trip from Darwin doesn't leave until 7 p.m. So I know that's a long time. Okay, so the first thing, easiest thing to do is work my way to the next hour. Let's set my clock up. I'm leaving at 7:30 a.m. I now need to go to 8 o'clock. So I'm just going to count my minutes to get back up to the o'clock. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So I know 7:30 to 8 a.m. is 30 minutes. I now need to go from 8 a.m. all the way back around to 7. So I'm at 8 o'clock right now. I now need to count the hours all the way back around until we get to 7 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There are 11 hours to get down to here. So the difference between the two trips from Darwin, leaving at 7:30 a.m. and 7 p.m. is 11 hours and 30 minutes. Okay, I hope you found that a little bit useful. Sometimes it does help to work with a clock. So if you do have a clock at home, even one you can take the batteries out of for a little bit and move the hands around. Always, if you're working with duration, do the minutes first to get to the next hour, then count on your hours and any extra minutes that you need to do after that. Okay, I hope that helped. Thank you.